Once upon a time, there was a man who perfected the art of the pie in the face. This man hosted a 1950s and 60s kids show where one day he got a wild hair encouraging the kids to steal money from their parents and send it to him in the mail, promising a postcard from Puerto Rico in return. Now, this ill-advised stunt got the man in lots of trouble, as you might imagine, but also made him notoriously next-level famous almost overnight. So, in true showbiz fashion, he got to keep his job. Now, throughout the decades to follow, this man went on to appear in countless television, movie, and music productions, keeping his unique brand of silly humor and slapstick alive all the way into the 2000s, earning his rightful place in the pantheon of comedic legends. In this, the big 50th episode of the Dandy Funhouse, we're going to tell his tale and learn some amazing dandy fun facts along the way about someone you might think you know. Oh, his name? Milton Soupman, but you might remember him better as Soupy Sales. Let's go behind the slapstick and let's step into the funhouse.
Where am I?
You just entered the Dandy Funhouse.
Hello and welcome to the Dandy Funhouse video show, podcast, and blog. This is where we slurp a mega smoothie of retro pop culture, toys and games, and all the fun stuff. I'm your host, Neil Dandy, and in this big episode number 50, we're going to take you behind the slapstick and into the story of Soupy Sales. This is a show I've been wanting to do for a very long time, but not as long as the longing you'll feel once you check out these superific Dandy Funhouse t-shirts. Designed by yours truly and expertly modeled by stock image personalities, you're gonna love the way you look. I guarantee it. We even cut 4 holes in them. 1 to crawl your body into, 1 to stick your head out of, and 2 to poke your arms through. Act now and get 0% off. This deal will last long, so hurry! And as long as we're shirt talking, we might as well get jacked on some Coffee Badger harshly ground French roast coffee, as well as our Coffee Badger t-shirts and mugs. Badge in, caffeinate, badge out. Find all our amazing stuff in the Dandy Fun Shop located within the Dandy Funhouse website at dandyfunhouse.com. Where'd you think I was going to send you? Hey, we also got a mini Dandy Fun Shop at our YouTube channel. Just do a search for Dandy Funhouse on YouTube and that'll get you there. All right, Soupy Sales. If you're real old, you'll probably remember this comedian from his 1950s and 60s kids show, Lunch with Soupy Sales, where he pulled an infamous stunt that almost ended his career, but ultimately brought him additional fame and notoriety. And I'll tell you about that just a little bit later. Now, if you're just a little bit old like me, you'll remember Soupy from his countless appearances as a panelist or a celebrity participant in multiple game shows in the late 60s through mid 70s. Then in the late 70s through early 80s as a full cast member of the hit TV show Sha Na Na, and all the way into the 2000s as a radio show host, recording artist, and author. With roots firmly in vaudeville and slapstick, the tale of Soupy Sales goes back farther than you might think. The year 1926, the town Franklinton, North Carolina. A little boy named Milton Soupman was born to Hungarian immigrants Irving and Sadie Soupman. His father, a dry goods merchant, he had a couple of older brothers named Leonard and Jack who had some wacky nicknames like Hambone and Chicken Bone. And Milton was dubbed Soup Bone and later shortened to just Soupy. Catching the performing bug early in life, he found himself auditioning for and acting in a variety of elementary school plays. Then when he moved on to high school, Soupy attended Huntington High in Huntington, West Virginia, where his performing continued. His popularity grew, and he was even voted most popular boy in school. Upon graduating from high school in 1944, Milton Soupman enlisted in the U.S. Navy, serving honorably aboard the USS Randall during the latter part of World War II and becoming known amongst his shipmates for commandeering the PA system with comedy routines, hoping to keep up morale while at war. During the Battle of Okinawa, that ship was under constant kamikaze attack. His time in the service did instill a fear of flying into him, however. This stemmed from him being assigned to cleanup duty following a fatal plane crash at the San Diego Naval Base. After exiting the military, Milton Soupman completed his college education at Marshall University, earning a master's degree in journalism. While there, he further honed his performing skills in nightclubs as a comedian, singer, and dancer. Upon graduation, Milton Soupman managed to land a job as a scriptwriter and disc jockey with WHTN Huntington, West Virginia, choosing the stage name Soupy Hines, in part to disguise his Jewish heritage, which is something many Jewish performers did during that day. However, there arose another concern around the confusion with the food company Heinz, especially since Soupy was already a food-related name. So, shortly after launching the DJ career, the choice was made to change the latter part of his stage name to Sales in honor of vaudeville legend Charles Chick Sale. And thus, Soupy Sales was thrust upon an unsuspecting post-war world, or at least the local listening audience in Huntington, West Virginia. Now, always determined to take his career to the next level, Soupy Sales soon followed an offer to relocate to the larger market of Cincinnati, Ohio, where he became a morning radio DJ and regular nightclub performer. Now, Soupy eventually became popular enough around town that he was offered his own local television show on WKRC TV as the host of Soupy's Soda Shop, which is regarded as TV's first ever teen dance show, and soon thereafter adding a second late-night comedy variety show called Club Nothing. But the show that really launched the version of Soupy Sales that became known and loved the world over was his kids' show, Lunch with Soupy Sales. It debuted in 1953 from the studios of WXYZ-TV in Detroit, Michigan. It was originally, albeit briefly, called 12 O'Clock Comics and was filled with celebrity special guests, slapstick comedy, jokes galore, smart aleck puppets, and lots of what would later become Soupy's hallmark, pies in the face. And it wasn't just a pie in the face. This was developed into a full art form with variations such as a pie on top of the head, pies to both ears, pies from behind being thrown into a pie. I mean, in fact, over the span of his 50-year career, Soupy Sales estimated that he and his guests had been hit with over, 20,000 pies. Now, in one notable pie-related incident, Soupy was knocked to the ground and injured once when an enthusiastic young fan threw a pie by surprise at him. It turned out to be a frozen pie, hard as a rock, which caught Soupy in the neck and sent him down to dirt kissing town. The pie police swooped in, and now that young fan is about to be released from Pie Risen to live out his final days as a crusty filling station clerk. Yep, that'll teach him. Oh, and then there was also the signature dance, the Soupy Shuffle, which was basically a cute little move where Soupy would sort of hop back and forth, dragging one foot on the ground while singing the song, Do the Soupy Shuffle. Stick to the end and I'll play it for you, and hopefully I won't get a copyright strike for doing so. I think it's been over 50 years now. I think I can get away with it. In addition to all this, however, Soupy also hosted a late night show in Detroit called Soupy's On, where he featured Detroit's jazz performers who would often sell out their own shows after appearing on his. Now, some of his most notable jazz guests included Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, Billie Holiday, and Miles Davis. In 1955, Lunch with Soupy Sales went national when it was picked up by ABC television to run on Saturday mornings in direct competition with The Today Show and Captain Kangaroo. In 1960, after 5 successful years, Soupy relocated to Los Angeles where the network was based, but just one short year after relocating, ABC canceled his show, and poor Soupy was sent to the soup lines, with the exception of KABC, which kept him on as a local program. In 1962, Soupy Sales became an official, albeit brief, guest host of The Tonight Show during the period between Jack Paar leaving and Johnny Carson taking the helm. Then came 1964 through 66. WNEW-TV in New York City picked up the Soupy Sales Show and syndicated 260 episodes to local stations outside the New York market. This would mark the pinnacle of popularity for Mr. Sales, and he would host such top Vegas talent as Frank Sinatra, Tony Curtis, Jerry Lewis, Judy Garland, and Sammy Davis Jr., all of whom lined up with bells on, just begging for the status symbol of the day of getting a pie in the face. Now, during this time, he would also contribute his writing talents to the TV series Here's Edie. Dandy fun fact! Did you know that during the mid-1950s through the mid-1960s, Soupy Sales had become so famous that it was said he could walk down the street next to President Eisenhower and more people would recognize Soupy? Another dandy fun fact! Urban legend had it that Soupy Sales would sneak off-color or blue humor, dirty jokes, into his kids' show for the amusement of the adults. And apparently his adult following was pretty sizable. Now, although the allegation has been repeatedly disproven as completely false, the rumors persisted to the point where Soupy once had a standing offer of $10,000 to anyone who could prove he worked blue on his kids' show. No one ever collected that prize. The Soupy Sales show was also known for its puppet characters like White Fang, the biggest and meanest dog in the USA, which appeared only as a giant white shaggy paw appearing from the side of the screen and usually armed with a pie for Soupy's face. Blacktooth, the biggest and sweetest dog in the USA, which was a giant shaggy black paw that would pull Soupy off screen and drown him in kisses. And Pookie the lion, who was a hipster lion who would appear in a window behind Soupy and ask riddles, and Hippie the hippo, who only made an occasional appearance as a friend of Pookie. Okay, it's time to talk about the incident. It was during his time at WNEW-TV that Soupy Sales pulled a stunt that would make him the enemy of parents nationwide and also notoriously next-level famous. It was New Year's Day, 1965. The station would not allow Soupy and his staff to take the holiday off, and Soupy was not happy about it at all. So he took his hostilities out by encouraging all the kids watching his early morning New Year's Day program to sneak into their parents' room while they were still sleeping off their New Year's Eve festivities and remove those funny green pieces of paper with pictures of U.S. presidents on them from their pants and pocketbooks, put them in an envelope, and send them to Soupy. And Soupy promised to respond with postcards from Puerto Rico. Now, in the days to follow, bags of mail containing cash started to arrive at the TV station, adding into the thousands of dollars. Some of it was monopoly money. A lot of it was real. Soupy tried his best to backtrack, claiming, hey, it's only a joke, and whatever actual money arrived, well, we're going to donate that to charity. But parental complaints increased, and Soupy was suspended from the station for 2 whole weeks with no allowance. Now, as news of the stunt spread, Soupy obtained a level of instant notoriety and a certain cool factor, which only increased his ratings and celebrity status, so they put him right back on. Oh, and you know what? He had games too. I'm talking board games and card games. Now, these were all the rage in the mid-'60s. And did you know that Soupy Sales had a variety of them around this time, all of which have become highly collectible? He had at least 3 that I've been able to track down. Soupy Sales Says Go, Go, Go from 1961. This was a car racing themed board game. And then you have the Soupy Sales game, which is also a board game. And from the looks of it, you have a spinner and presumably a game piece. You move along, and from what I've been able to gather, you're supposed to collect the most pies or something like that. Now, it's a highly collectible item, and I saw one eBay seller selling this for around $400 at the time of this recording. And lastly, we found the Soupy Sales mini board card game, which appears to have pegs that you move along a small board with pictures of pies until you reach the goal. If you can get your hands on any of these out in the wild, my advice would be to jump on them. I mean, not literally, but $400 is a bit rich for my blood, so I'm just going to keep scouring old ladies' yard sales and see if I get lucky. Dandy fun fact! Did you know that Soupy Sales was the original voice of Donkey Kong? Now, Soupy also enjoyed quite a successful recording career. Frank Sinatra's Reprise Records signed Soupy Sales to a record deal in 1961, releasing 2 albums, The Soupy Sales Show in 1961 and Up in the Air in 1962. Sales would later release a novelty dance record in 1965 called The Mouse, which he performed on The Ed Sullivan Show, as well as Hullabaloo. The Mouse reached number 76 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart and sold 250,000 copies in New York alone. Soupy Sales would surprisingly sign with Motown in 1969, if you can believe that, releasing a parody of the song MacArthur Park entitled McArty Park, along with a full-length album called A Bag of Soup. He also recorded a comedy and singing story record called Spy with a Pie. Soupy also appeared in a number of movies. I mean, rarely in a leading role, but usually prominent. His biggest role, however, was in the 1966 comedy Birds Do It, where he did star as a janitor who experiences a freak accident and gains the ability to fly. In the late 60s through mid-70s, Soupy Sales was a regular panelist on such game shows as What's My Line, Match Game, The Gong Show, Pyramid, and countless others. In fact, during my childhood, growing up in the 70s, I didn't know him as a host of anything. I only knew him as a guy who always appeared on game shows and made guest appearances on schlocky TV series like The Love Boat. And I thought it was the oddest thing that he was famous for just sitting around in a seat cracking jokes or doing a walk-on while cutting up with a group of C-level comedians and actors. But all the adults knew exactly who he was, and to them, Soupy Sales was an icon. But this icon struggled to find more prominent roles during this time because he'd become typecast as the goofy kids show host, and Hollywood wouldn't take him seriously. But fortunes changed a bit when in 1978, Soupy Sales became a regular cast member of one of my own favorite TV shows, Sha-Na-Na, as a wisecracking guy in the neighborhood. Now, this lasted until the conclusion of the show in 1981. Now, during the time when the Sha-Na-Na show was winding down, I witnessed Soupy Sales appearing on the wide world of sports, going for the world's record of catching the most cream pies dropped from a helicopter. And I gotta say, it was spectacular. He wore his trademark sweater and some protective goggles, and the helicopter went up to a respectable height, and enough to where the rotor wash wasn't like blowing everyone away on the ground. And I remember those pies coming down real fast and really hard splattering all over him, and it looked painful. Now, I've scoured the internet for any video, photos, or even a mention of this stunt, but I've come up completely empty-handed, but I swear on everything good and holy that I did indeed watch this happen, and I'm pretty sure it was on live TV. I've sent a message to the manager who handles the licensing for Soupy's reruns, and I'm currently awaiting a reply. If you can back me up and tell me I'm not crazy, send me a note and let me know you've seen this. Soupy Sales would return to his radio roots in the mid-1980s, taking the midday time slot for WNBC New York in between Don Imus and the Howard Stern Show, with whom he was believed to have a very acrimonious relationship. Now, he dove harder into acting in his later years as well. His most notable roles during the latter part of his life, one would be the role of Moses in The Making of And God Spoke in 1993, Professor Prophet in the TV series The Black Scorpion in 2001, Grandpa Franken in The Innocent and the Damned in 2005, and he contributed a song to the soundtrack of the movie A Dirty Shame entitled The Backwards Alphabet in 2004. Now, Soupy had two sons with his first wife, Barbara Fox, Tony and Hunter Sales. Now, these guys became professional musicians and made up the rhythm section for Todd Rundgren in the early 70s, Iggy Pop in the mid-70s, and then David Bowie from the late 80s through the early 90s. In 2003, Soupy Sales at long last published his memoir entitled Soupy Says, My Zany Life and Times, where he opened up about his history, behind-the-scenes secrets, and the inner workings, good, bad, and ugly, of the entertainment business. You can still find this book today through a variety of booksellers on the internet. Now, Soupy Sales received the ultimate honor with his long overdue star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame on January 7th, 2005. You can find it in front of 7000 Hollywood Boulevard. Now, this would be the only major award he would ever receive in his career. That's right. No Lifetime Achievement Emmy, no Marconi Award, no Grammy, just a lifetime of making people smile and a star on the Hollywood Boulevard Walk of Fame. And Mr. Soupy Sales did pass away on October 22nd, 2009 from cancer at the age of 83 at Calvary Hospice in the Bronx, New York. He currently rests at Kensico Cemetery in Valhalla, New York, and is survived by his second wife, Trudy, who, along with manager Janet Oseroff, handles the affairs of his estate and licenses reruns of over 100 of Soupy's shows, which you can still find as of the date of this episode, February 2025, on Jewish Life Television and also the Retro Television Network. And he continues to live on in the form of various DVD collections, which allow you to bring old Soupy right into your living room anytime you want. And that, ladies and pie faces, is the story of one Mr. Soupy Sales. May he live on in our meringue-flavored memories for all time. Soupy, the Dandy Funhouse salutes you. Okay, for those of you listening to the podcast, I just pied my own face in honor of Soupy Sales, and I encourage you to do the same. Oh, it might help if I had the microphone on. Okay. All right, for those of you listening to the podcast who have no idea what just happened, I just pied my own face in honor of Mr. Soupy Sales, and I encourage you to do the same. And if you would like to be a fellow pie face like me, I encourage you to head over to the Dandy Funhouse at dandyfunhouse.com where you can see past episodes, listen to the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, or read the blog. I've got it in video form, podcast form, and written form every episode. And also the Dandy Fun Shop, where you can buy stuff from us and become a Dandy Funhouse supporter. Supporters get access to exclusive bonus features not available to the general public, And super supporters not only get access to these exact same features, but I'll mail you something pyrific, maybe some lemon meringue from my face, if you give me your mailing address. Very important, the mailing address. Podcast listeners can usually support via a little button in the podcast app of choice. It's generally got a $sign on it, and that's how you show your patronage and love that way. And of course, if you got no money, we still love you anyway. Leave a 5-star review anywhere that you can find to leave it, and you will have our undying gratitude. All right, wow. And, Joe, and before we go here, I want to, this is the big 50th episode. I mean, it seems like just yesterday we were tiptoeing through Dollywood while crusty carnival barkers were squirting antibacterial hand sanitizer in our palms during COVID. And, we've come a long way, haven't we? Especially for a show that only comes out once a month, 50 episodes. I couldn't imagine doing anything else. I love being with you. I love the fact that you come and share this time with me. And I'm not planning on stopping this anytime soon. So I encourage you to come on back real soon, right here to the Dandy Funhouse, where everything is always fun and dandy. I think I need a towel. All right, I think that does it.
Do the soupy shuffle, it'll pick you right up. Do the soupy shuffle, you'll be spry as a pup. It'll give you a lift whenever you're feeling blue. Do the soupy shuffle, oh, that's the best thing to do. It'll pick you right up. You'll be spry as a pup. It'll give you a lift whenever you're feeling blue. Oh, that's the best thing to do. Shuffle and dance your troubles away. Do the soupy shuffle and you'll be happy all day. Put some wings on your feet, it's easy as ABC. Do the soupy shuffle and shuffle along with me. Come on along with me. Shuffle along with me.